Welcome to Inspirational Awareness Tuesday. So, what is Inspirational Awareness Tuesday all about? It's going to be where I share with you either an inspirational story or something that I'm passionate about that I'd like to bring awareness to, or sometimes a little bit of both. Hi guys, and welcome back. So I first want to say I'm so sorry for the delay on this video. It is supposed to be uploaded and posted on Tuesday, but unfortunately I've had some technical difficulties. So before we get into the video, I just wanted to formally apologize to all of you. Now that's out of the way, let's jump right into the video. So today's video subject may be a little bit hard for you to hear and to listen to. Just a forewarning. But what I will tell you is it is a story of both inspiration as well as awareness. And what is the awareness going to be about today? It is going to be about child abuse. Because child abuse in any form is just not okay. And I feel so strongly and so passionate about it that I feel the need to post this video and try as best as I possibly can to bring awareness to it. Because it has long-lasting effects. For me as a child growing up, I was the youngest of 3 children. I have 2 older siblings. My brother is 10 years older than me, and my sister is 7 years older than me. So just right there with that age gap, it was very difficult because when I was still a child, my sister and brother, they were already adults and sooner than later were ready to move on with their lives. I was brought into an unfortunate, dysfunctional home where drugs and alcohol seemed to be more important than raising children. And that was the unfortunate thing for me. So growing up, I always felt alone. I felt like there was no one there, being that I didn't have any siblings that were my age or really any friends. I was pretty much isolated and it was just me. I remember so many days upon nights just staying at home and it just being me by myself, whether it was with a parent, but they were in another room, they really weren't with me. There are many different kinds of child abuse, but there are 2 major ones that truly affected me and my story: physical abuse and emotional abuse. These 2 kinds of child abuses were the 2 that affected me the very most. First, let's start off with physical abuse. Physical abuse wasn't done often, but when it was done in a very harsh way. And here's an example. When I was about 10 years old, I still remember it clear as day. I was sitting on the edge of the couch. My father had already been upset with my mom about something that had happened between them. And I remember him being angry. I said something to him to set him off. And the next thing I knew, I was being backhanded and with a sandwich in my mouth, getting ready to bite it, that being thrown across the room as well as me being thrown across the room. It was moments like that that honestly made me afraid of my father and really began to start to install fear into my life. That was one example. Here's another. Physical abuse was also used as a form of discipline for me. And it wasn't in a caring, loving way, as I do believe in spanking, but this wasn't a normal, healthy kind of spanking. This was, I'm angry and I'm gonna take out of all of my anger and all of my frustration on you, leaving bruises and welts behind. Yes, I was beaten with multiple different things at times, whether honestly it was whatever my mother or father could get their hands on, which wasn't obviously the best thing to happen, but it did happen. And just more and more over my lifetime, it just installed more and more fear. Let's move on to the next one, which is emotional abuse. This is something that I truly believe affected me so greatly, even more so than physical abuse. As I said, physical abuse happened, and when it happened harshly, but it wasn't as often as emotional abuse. Emotional abuse was something I realized really affected me later on in life. It affected my relationships, it affected the way I felt about myself, it affected truly just who I was as a person, as a whole. and I had to relearn things. I had to learn what boundaries were. I had to learn what love truly was. I mean, there was so many different things as an adult because I pretty much raised myself. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they don't have that same option coming from the same atmosphere and the place that I've come from. And I'm so grateful and thankful and give God all of the glory and honor for allowing me to come out on the other side of this. There are so many different times that a child is emotionally abused, physically abused, sexually abused, neglected. I mean, all kinds of abuse as they're children. And then when they become adults, they don't know how to fix that. So some of them could turn to drug use. Some of them may turn around and allow a man, or if it's a guy, a woman, to treat them terribly because that's what they're used to or that's what they see as normal. There's just so many different things that can happen, and I am so immensely grateful that I was able to come out on the other side. Have I been perfect? Has my life been perfect? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I'm just so grateful and thankful for the place that I am and the things that God has protected me from and pulled me out of. Here's an example of some of the emotional abuse I endured. I was about 5 years old. I still remember to this very day sitting at the table with my whole family and sitting at the table with my whole family, me spilling something that I was drinking, whether it was milk, juice, water, I honestly don't remember. What I do remember is the reaction of what happened from what I did. And the reaction was where I had 3 to 4 adults yelling at me on the top of their lungs and saying how terrible and stupid I was for spilling this milk all over the table. I was already a jumpy kid because of the physical abuse and just the chaos and turmoil that I was in because I had grown up in such a chaotic environment that I was already on the defense. So this just made it 10 times worse. This also affected how I felt as far as my self-worth. When I had a constant person in my life through different stories, and if you would like to know more of my story, you can go ahead and pick up my book when it comes out, because I don't want to give too much of my story away. So that's just one example. Here's another. When I was about 15 years old, I would, go to the refrigerator and go to get food. And, how I coped with the way that I grew up was to eat. And so at 15, as I developed in life, I became a little bit heavier. And my family saw it and saw that as an opportunity to find something else to not be so nice about. What happened was I would open the refrigerator to go get something to eat, even if I hadn't eaten all day. They would make comments like, "Oh, what are you going in the refrigerator for? You don't need to get food. You're fat enough. You can live a week off of that fat you got on your body. What do you mean? What do you got to go in the refrigerator for? Or you're going to eat me out of house and home. Why are you in the refrigerator again?" I mean, literally being self-conscious to open the refrigerator door. I mean, those kind of things shouldn't happen ever to a person, let alone a child, someone that is developing and growing. And I'll give you one more example of that. And it was just truly, honestly, not having the love and the nourishment and care of a parent, as I was left alone for days at a time to fend for myself. And as I mentioned before, I pretty much raised myself. So not having an adult around to validate me, to care for me, to love me, to treat me well, to make sure that I ate, to nurture me, none of that was there. And in turn, it was very painful. It was a very painful thing to grow up with. I never truly knew what a healthy love was and what it was like to truly be loved in every way. It wasn't until I was about 10 years old and I had a teacher walk into my life. And with my mother's permission, we began to spend time together, as my mother couldn't care less because at the time, unfortunately, she was so heavily addicted to her drugs and her addiction that yeah, getting me out of the house and getting me out of her hair was the best thing in the world to her. And she knew that I was safe and with a safe person. And deep down, I truly believe she knew that I was getting the love that I truly deserved from this teacher. For that, I am truly grateful. In spending time with her, I was able to go over to her house one night for dinner. I'll never forget it. I walked in and I met her family members, and I remember thinking, okay, why, this is weird. It's too quiet in here. There's nobody yelling. There's nobody screaming. What is going on? As the night went on, we sat down and we had dinner, and we sat at the table. There was no arguing, there was no yelling, and there was no fighting. There was no chaos that I was used to. And I was actually told by both of my parents, I clearly remember, I would see families act normal, or what I know is normal now, what I didn't think was normal then, on TV. And I would say, hey, Mom, well, look how nice they are. They're so nice to each other. Oh, well, that stuff only happens on TV. That's not how people act in real life. And yeah, I know every family isn't perfect, but I was clearly lied to, because being with this family that night, I truly realized that families are that way. It was from that moment forward, at 10 years old, that I decided I wanted to be like them and not like my family. It's when I realized that the chaos that I was growing up in wasn't what it should have been, that it's not normal, and that it wasn't what life and family should be. And for that, I'm so grateful. To be honest, hurting people hurt people. And that's just the bottom line. And the more people that we can help get help and bring awareness into the situation and what's going on around them, if you know someone that's in need of help, the better. So again, I pray that you all just continue to follow me and subscribe. Remember, down there to my channel, please remember to ring the bell. And please, guys, if you have any comments of anything you would like me to talk about, let me know what you think about my video. Was it helpful? Just anything would be nice to know, exactly some feedback and what you guys are thinking. So I hope you guys all have a good day, and see you soon.